Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sleep Mechanics and Strategy Talks. In this episode, we're going to be talking about something that I think is very important for a lot of players to be considering, especially when considering where to invest their main skill seeds, one of the most limited resources in the entire game. And that is, which Pokemon should fill the role of generalist on your team? Now, generalist is kind of a me-made terminology. I think it's a terminology that I use. I don't know if it's big in the community. I don't think it is. But I think of the generalist as the Pokemon that you can just throw on any team and it is strong. Just strong output no matter what. But it's not going to be the best. It's going to be the jack of all trades because obviously a berry specialist that has favorite berry is going to outperform it. An ingredient specialist that's creating ingredients for a very powerful meal is going to outperform it. So, like, when you have an open slot on the team that you don't know what else to throw on because nothing else is going to really contribute by playing into what they're good at, then this is where those Pokemon do their best. Just filling in the last slot because it's powerful at producing raw Snorlax strength. Oftentimes, the community thinks about, if you want a generalist, invest your seeds into a skill specialist, a charge strength M or a charge strength S skill specialist. This is kind of what they were designed to do. Breaking that mold is going to result in weaker outputs for general strength. So you should invest in one of those Pokemon should you need a generalist Pokemon. However, I want to present a counterpoint. And maybe not to say a counterpoint, because there are still situations where you should be using that, but I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't consider, and that is berry specialists as a generalist. Now, you look at these two Pokemon. We have a Feraligatr here with Berry Finding S, Help Speed M, and a Speed of Help Up Nature. Very good Feraligatr. Very, very good Feraligatr, actually. This is probably one of the best Feraligatrs in the game. I also have an Ampharos here with skill triple trigger. A lot of players look for triple trigger. It's like one of the dreamed about sub-skill spreads and nature that you could have on Ampharos. Which one do you think would be the better main skill seed investment? Your gut would tell you to invest into the Ampharos with the main skill seeds because it's going to be the better generalist. That's what it does. And it's got triple skill trigger. Man, with all those triggers, this thing's got to be the best option because it's going to be proccing that skill so much with a really high value. That's got to be the better option. But after we do the main skill seed investment, the Feraligatr actually produces more per day. So why would we invest into the Ampharos? It's not going to be a better generalist. Sure, those seeds got the Ampharos from a lower baseline to about the same spot as the Feraligatr here. However, why do you need the Ampharos when you could instead have put those seeds into the Feraligatr and have the Feraligatr do the job of the Ampharos just on the side while also being a phenomenal berry finder when there's water favored berry, which electric favored berry isn't doing much for the Ampharos. So it may be worthwhile when looking to create a generalist Pokemon to consider your berry finding options as well as your charge strength M options, especially when looking in the context of level 60 and to higher Pokemon levels. As of right now, if I was to readjust this to be like level 50, then the evaluation would obviously lean more into the Ampharos because the Ampharos isn't as affected by levels. But I really do think that this is something that we should be considering for late game investment. I think late game, the future for generalists, if we're to continue using any generalists, is berry specialists. Now, before I get into the actual numbers behind this, I do want to disclaim something real quick. I want to talk about two things. First is how I determine rarity. I'm trying to compare berry specialists and skill specialists of equal rarity. Which it's not perfect the way that I did it because technically there's other factors that could play into like what's going to be the same likelihood of getting one at or above this. That may be a little bit off, but to get the same ones here, I just want to make sure that each Pokemon, berry, and skill specialist have a gold skill. If they have a gold skill for gold skill, blue skill for blue skill, white skill for white skill. It's not perfect because some gold skills favor berry specialists more, like berry finding S, obviously. But I'll get into that a little bit more when I get there. The other thing that I want to talk about is this functionality when calculating in the Rayonics calculator. If you go to others, helping bonus stacks individual. If you have this set to nothing, then it evaluates helping bonus when you're doing an individual baseline analysis as a 33% boost to productivity. They have reasons for that. If you want to look into that, look at their helping documentations. They go well more in depth than I will for the course of this video. But it's how they evaluate helping bonus, and because of that, oftentimes I found that helping bonus resulted, because it's a 33% boost to all productivity, main skill trigger M is a 36% boost to skill procs alone. 33% boost to all forms of productivity I found oftentimes led to a greater productivity for the skill specialist than skill trigger M. So for the sake of this analysis, when I did a berry finding S equivalent for the skill specialist, it was helping bonus as a way to get an equivalent. Now, that evaluation method is not perfect when evaluating other skill specialists, especially when you're looking for things like triggers on energy for everyone. It's not going to give you a good idea for it. But I feel like, I personally believe that for the generalist, it's a fair evaluation because it's going to be boosting up the entire team, not just itself, which means that that's applying general strength. It's a good way to measure the general strength it may apply. So that's why I picked to toggle the settings the way that I set them. Oftentimes players have a personal beef with setting helping bonus this way, but I have my reasons for setting it this way for this evaluation. And it's also the easiest way that I can get value equal rarity between berry specialists and skill specialists. Now, what am I evaluating here? First, I want to talk about the generalist in the early game. Which Pokemon is going to be your best generalist early game? So, early game, you're not going to have that many seeds. Berries all the way. For this evaluation, I just put them at their base after evolving them. You evolve them, get them to just whatever level they evolve at. Level 25. This maybe isn't the best level to evaluate them at because some of these Pokemon won't even be fully evolved at level 25. But still, you're going to be using your seeds on your healer most likely at this point, whether you're free to play or premium. If you are premium, you may have a few more seeds to play around with, but it's not going to make that big of an impact unless you get to like skill level 7. So, early game, your generalist is your berry specialist, because if you're catching just with berry finding S and berry finding S alone, it's still leading to berry specialist doing better than the skill specialists. And you want one anyway, like you want a Feraligatr early game, because you should be trying to get that favored berry for Cyan Beach. I would even make the argument Dodrio works really well because you want the favorite berry for Cyan Beach. And then it just also on the side happens to work as a generalist for green grass. So, early game, don't bother with skills at all. Or charge strength M, charge strength S, until you start to have those seeds to spare, which is going to take a while before you get there. But what about when you do get there? Well, this is a more mid-game analysis, level 50. Level 50 feels really far away, but honestly, it's not that bad compared to level 25. The real curve in XP really begins level 50 to level 60, which is why I made them separate things. Now, I figured if you're getting Pokemon to level 50, then you can make that skill seed investment, and you can be a little bit more picky on what skills you get. So, made equal rarity assumptions. Berry Finding S helps beat M, helping bonus, and skill trigger M. And as you can see here, once you make that modification, then the skill trigger Pokemon do much better as generalists. Even Vaporeon, which doesn't have the strongest of skills for the sake of this evaluation because it's producing ingredients which mostly get their strength from being part of a meal. So Vaporeon even does better, and Heracross do better than, say, Feraligatr, Typhlosion, Meganium, Houndoom. All of these guys down here. So, yeah, they are significantly behind for the purpose of generalist, but it still might be worth considering even in this more mid-game scenario, just because, you know, it's only one Pokemon you're investing into instead of multiple. Um, so you can actually get them to those higher levels quicker. And on top of that, on the weeks, let's say your Typhlosion's your generalist. On the weeks you go to top, it's going to feel really, really good because they're extra good. Yeah, sure, you're losing upwards of 12,000 per day, which does add up quite a bit. I'm not saying it's the best option, but it's going to feel really strong on those weeks that you are there if you're looking at this more mid-game option for a generalist. But then, the extra reason why I think for generalists, why berries are the future, is because you get into the late game scenario, and honestly, okay, something very interesting here is that I plugged in Berry Finding S and Helping Bonus because I figured you'd hit Friendship level 40. Now, I did this analysis for level 60 for both if you have a good skill at level 50 and if you don't, for what you want it to be doing. But as you can see here, I forgot I had that setting enabled. As you can see here, interestingly, the skill specialists still do a little bit better, but the difference here is so small that it may as well be negligible. 53,000, 53,000, 53,000, 53,000 on the Typhlosion. So, when it comes to this spot, I really think the berry specialists are better. Sure, the numbers point towards Ampharos Golduck being better than the Feraligatr, but it's by such a small margin that realistically, the weeks that you can really own it at Cyan Beach with the Feraligatr, more than enough make up for the couple hundred a day that you're losing by not having a generalist that's one of these specialists. And that's very similar in conclusion, even when you apply same rarity skills at level 50, even if you get them that skill trigger M. Now, you can see it's up to like 63,000 versus 61,000. That difference is not nearly as significant as like the 12,000 difference we were seeing at level 50. Additionally, going beyond level 60, these Pokemon don't scale well at all in the current state of the game. And I do genuinely believe that there will eventually be a skill level 8 for this exact reason. If Berry Strength continues on the curve that it's currently on, then the Charge Strength M Pokemon don't stand a chance. Even with all of this kind of going for them, you can see that it's significantly better to have a Berry Specialist Generalist than a Skill Specialist Generalist. And they don't even have an island. So what's the point of them? They've become obsolete at that point, because even the thing that they are supposed to be good at, that jack of all trades role, is lost to the berry finders. Because they just do it better. So I do think there's a skill level 8 on the way for a lot of the skills, because if they make it Pokemon level 75, they've just got nothing for them. Now, something very interesting, there is one skill specialist that can kind of keep up, and that is Mimikyu, because Mimikyu is the only skill specialist whose skill actually also scales with level, since its skill finds berries. So that is an interesting. Additionally, you don't see on here Gallade. He actually comes up pretty highly because he's forcing them to produce set procs. In this evaluation, it's evaluating for if he's only proccing on himself, which is the least valuable version of Gallade. Additionally, Energy for Everyone also obviously scales with level as well, because it's boosting the entire team by a percentage. So, like, not all skills are perfect when discussing the generalist, but Mimikyu is like the generalist skill specialist that scales the best. So if you really want that role to be done by a skill specialist, then Mimikyu is the best option. But for late game. But if the trends continue the way they are, if we never get a skill level 8, which they've never confirmed as of the moment of recording this video, they've never confirmed that there's going to be a skill level 8. Any assumptions of them is purely speculative. And if that's the case, if it is the case that they never release that to us, then long-term berries are going to be the generalist option because they're strictly better in every way. But something that I did not discuss with this that I do want to make a very good point of, a very big point of, is, okay, it's fun to talk about these things. Fun to talk about, which is the better generalist, but the real better generalist is always going to be the better one that you have. If you have this Ampharos, but this Feraligatr doesn't exist, invest in the Ampharos, hands down. If you have the Ampharos, but your Feraligatr instead doesn't have the nature, boosting it just that ever so slightly more, you know what? The Ampharos is going to be a significantly better generalist. So, evaluate on a case-by-case basis based off what's in your box, but don't automatically assume that the triple trigger Ampharos is the best generalist and the best Pokemon to put your seeds into, because it may just be that Feraligatr that's sitting in the back that doesn't have anything at all for triggers, which is super against what you would commonly think is the best situation, and what the community would tell you otherwise. I bet you I could make a posting to Reddit with this exact circumstance and ask them, which one should I invest my seeds into? And hands down, Reddit will always tell us, I can almost guarantee you that the Ampharos would get way more people telling you, invest now. People won't even question or think to put seeds into the Feraligatr. But if you look at it from this framework, if they're both already level 60, the Feraligatr is strictly better. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed the discussion. If you have, and I hope you learned something as well. If you have, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. As always, I thank you guys for watching and hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.